Christine, how much does it hurt the WNBA when Caitlin Clark is out?
It is devastating to the WNBA when Caitlin Clark is out.
Now, I know a lot of us were expecting some sort of dip since Caitlin Clark has been out with injury, but I don't think all of us were expecting the entire viewership of the entire WNBA to be down. And this tweet from Christine Brennan really stuck out to me. She said, one player gets injured and more than half the TV audience for the entire league disappears. Has any other athlete ever had that kind of impact on a sport? Golf without Tiger definitely dropped precipitously on occasion.
The WNBA is in a full-blown financial meltdown, watching their entire empire crumble right before their eyes the moment Caitlin Clark steps off the court. It's a tragic yet utterly predictable spectacle that proves this league has learned absolutely nothing about protecting the one player who dragged them from obscurity into the blazing spotlight. This isn't just a story, it's a brutal breakdown of how the WNBA consistently shoots itself in the foot, letting their golden goose lie injured on the sidelines, and how their stubborn refusal to face reality is costing them millions every single day.
And the truth is the truth, and the data is there. And what we saw when Caitlin was out the last time, the 5 games that she missed earlier in the season, the WNBA's viewership dropped more than 50%. Not just the Fever, but the entire league.
In an era drowning in manufactured drama and social media outrage, actual facts are as rare as a sold-out WNBA game without Caitlin Clark. Back on May 24th, when Clark was benched with a quad injury, the harsh, undeniable truth of this league's one-player dependency was slapped across the world stage. Now, she's out again with a groin injury for who knows how long, and guess what? We're watching the exact same disastrous movie on repeat.
Quad injury jumped to her groin likely because of compensation. But the thing that you have to be careful of is if, say, you try to rush her back from this injury as well, then you're getting into this territory where a very serious injury can happen. That is what the Indiana Fever, that is what Caitlin need to avoid the best that they possibly can. So if it means that Caitlin is out for 3 weeks, if it means that she is out all the way through All-Star, then so be it.
The numbers don't lie, and they are screaming. Nationally televised WNBA viewership flatlined, dropping a staggering 55%. Games featuring the Indiana Fever saw an even steeper decline, a 53% nosedive from an average of 1.81 million viewers with Clark on the court, down to a pathetic 847,000 without her. But here's where this entire saga veers into the truly absurd. And by absurd, we mean the kind of predictably catastrophic idiocy you only get from a league that fundamentally refuses to learn from its own spectacular failures.
Clark went down. The WNBA ratings have dropped over 55% across the board.
Hey, guess what, guys?
League is Caitlin Clark.
The league is Caitlin Clark. She is the WNBA, guys.
Sidelined with a left quad strain May 24th. National TV viewership has plunged since then 55%. Before the injury, the Fever, her team, were averaging 1.81 million viewers, 2 million. Since her injury, fewer than 850,000.
While Caitlin Clark was busy being a legitimate phenomenon, packing arenas, shattering TV rating records, and generating unprecedented revenue, the WNBA was doing what they do best, absolutely nothing to protect their most valuable asset. Because apparently, when you have a player single-handedly responsible for a mind-boggling 26.5% of all WNBA economic activity, the logical response is to let opponents target her with absolute impunity, all while lecturing everyone else about basketball plays. Yeah, right.
News is alarming for the league, and it's alarming for the league because this is such a crucial year for the WNBA. At the end of this season, the WNBA will go into CBA negotiations. If negotiations go well, then every single player in the WNBA has a much better chance of making so much more in their next contract. And that's one thing when you start thinking about how many people stopped watching when Caitlin Clark got injured. A lot of people stopped watching because they are boycotting the WNBA. They don't want to give viewership to any other teams or any other players, whether they like other players on the team or not, because of how the media and the league itself has handled Caitlin Clark and how they have treated her fan.
What's truly fascinating And by fascinating, I mean infuriatingly repetitive, is that we've seen this exact scenario play out before. Yet somehow this league remains utterly incapable of learning from its own history. This isn't the first time the WNBA has watched their ratings and revenue flatline the moment their biggest star goes down. It's like watching someone repeatedly touch a hot stove, get burned every single time, then immediately reach for it again, all while claiming they had no idea what would happen.
Now, what's really concerning about this is the fact that we are only a month into the regular season, and Caitlin Clark has already been out with 2 injuries. With the first one being her having to miss some time with a left quad strain. Now, of course, this is concerning because if you're already on your second injury, you don't want to be that player that is always hurt. Cough, cough, Embiid, cough, cough, Anthony Davis. So I really do hope that the Fever really sits her out right now for a while, only because you don't want her to have more long-term injuries and be more prone to.
And hey, if you're enjoying this dose of reality, do yourself a favor and hit that subscribe button. The financial devastation, by the way, has been swift and utterly merciless. Ticket prices for Fever games have plummeted a staggering 71%, with some dropping from $86 down to a measly $25. The average ticket price for Clark's missed games crashed from $137 to just $80. Road games that were specifically moved to massive arenas to handle the Caitlin Clark demand are now struggling to fill seats that would have been bursting at the seams with her presence. Remember that Chicago Sky vs. Fever rematch, hyped as one of the season's most anticipated games. Ticket prices for that masterpiece plummeted from over $2,000 to a paltry $95. This was the same matchup that previously drew 2.25 million viewers, one of the most watched WNBA games ever. Without Clark, it's just another game, and casual fans couldn't care less.
Man, bruh. Congratulations to the WNBA. Your ratings are going to drop by 55 to 60% once again. I believe the WNBA have successfully broken Caitlin Clark.
Christine Brennan, the veteran sports journalist whose upcoming book on Caitlin Clark and the revolution in women's sports promises to expose the league's systemic failures, has been one of the most vocal critics of the WNBA's handling of their golden girl. The WNBA continues to fail to meet the moment, Brennan rightfully wrote after yet another incident where Clark was clearly targeted. People are watching as never before, and this is what they see. Her criticism cuts right to the bone. The league has the data showing Clark alone draws more than half their TV audience, yet they still allow her to endure cheap shots and hard fouls that serve no purpose other than raw intimidation. It's like a restaurant owner letting customers harass the head chef, even though that chef's cooking is the only reason anyone bothers to show up.
As big a deal as Tiger was in men's golf, Keith, he did, and when he was gone, it affected the ratings, but nothing like that. And Michael Jordan being out, maybe a 5 percentage points or something. Nothing like this. You can make a strong case, and I will make that case, and have that there is no one single athlete more important to his or her sport or tour or whatever the circuit is that they play on than Caitlin Clark is to the WNBA.
The pattern at this point is as predictable as it is maddening. Clark gets fouled hard by opponents who seem far more interested in making a statement than actually playing basketball. Out of the league's 30 flagrant fouls handed out in 2024, 5 were committed against Clark, with the Chicago Sky being responsible for a staggering 80% of those flagrant fouls thrown her way. And when she does respond to the physicality, she's slammed for being too aggressive. When she doesn't, she's criticized for being soft. It's a completely rigged, no-win situation that the league itself created and stubbornly refuses to address. Meanwhile, the financial devastation isn't just hitting the Fever, it's crushing the entire WNBA ecosystem. The league was already projected to lose $50 million this year, even with the Clark-driven surge. Without her on the court, those losses are piling up at an alarming rate as TV ratings collapse, merchandise sales slow to a crawl, and attendance figures revert to their depressing pre-Clark levels.
I don't even know where to begin, man. I hope Caitlin Clark is okay. I want to know when this injury even happened, bro, because let's be serious here. She has the quad injury. Mind you, Caitlin Clark hadn't missed a game since she was like 19 years old, since she was like 18 in college or something. Now she has a groin injury. We've never seen Caitlin Clark play as bad as she played the last 3 games. Let's just be serious here. She's like 1 for 20-something on threes in the last 3. We've never seen her shoot the ball this way. I'll say that. Has she been hurt and playing through this?
The most damning part of this entire fiasco, it was all completely preventable. Clark arrived in the league as a humble rookie, constantly praising her teammates and deflecting attention from herself. She handled criticism with a grace and maturity rarely seen in someone so young. The league had a golden opportunity to embrace her, protect her, and use her supernova popularity to elevate the entire sport. Instead, they let jealousy and petty politics poison what should have been a glorious celebration of women's basketball. The ripple effects of Clark's injury extend far beyond just TV ratings and ticket sales. Corporate sponsors who poured millions into the WNBA based on the Clark effect growth are now undoubtedly questioning the wisdom of their investments. This whole situation reveals a fundamental identity crisis for the WNBA. The league seems torn between wanting to be taken seriously as a professional basketball organization and craving every bit of manufactured drama that might generate a fleeting social media trend. You can't have it both ways, folks. Professional leagues protect their stars and maintain competitive integrity. High school drama clubs, on the other hand, manufacture controversy and desperately hope someone pays attention.
The thing I admire about Caitlin, she's a warrior. She's tough. You hear me? Bruh, you just don't see players, you don't see female basketball players like her. I'm sorry. I done seen a lot of female basketball players, like I said.
The comparison to other professional sports leagues is frankly stark and embarrassing. Can you even imagine the NBA allowing players to spend months relentlessly targeting LeBron James with dirty plays, then claiming it's just competitive basketball? That league would shut it down immediately, handing out suspensions faster than you can say flagrant foul. But the WNBA seems perfectly content to let this destructive pattern continue, apparently operating under the delusion that any attention is good attention. Their abject failure to protect Clark has created a toxic environment where fans are now actively refusing to watch other WNBA games because they've completely lost trust in the sport's competitive integrity. When your own fans are explicitly stating they won't watch games without your biggest star because they don't believe the games will be fairly officiated, you've got a credibility problem so massive it dwarfs ratings and revenue concerns combined.
To clean up, I believe the physicality and all this hacking and fouling that goes on, she getting blindsided by Marina Mabry. I think all of this stuff is having a wear and tear and an impact, and all you guys are doing are hurting yourselves, because the numbers are gonna drop and drop and drop. And trust me, when it's time for that collective bargaining agreement, they are going to point to this and say, well, how can we give you guys all this money? What happens if she gets hurt?
What makes this situation even more infuriating is that the WNBA has had multiple crystal clear opportunities to course correct, and they have failed every single time. Each incident involving Clark should have been a blaring wake-up call for the league to establish clear, enforceable standards for player protection and competitive integrity. Instead, every single incident has been met with the same tired, dismissive responses about basketball plays and just letting the players play. The painful irony here is that Clark's injury, the very thing the league should have been working tirelessly to prevent, has provided the clearest possible evidence of her irreplaceable value to the entire organization. That 55% drop in viewership isn't subtle, people. Yet, even with this undeniable glaring evidence, there's little indication the WNBA has learned a single damn thing. League officials continue to parrot empty statements about competitive balance and being physical, as if hard fouls and dirty plays are somehow essential to the sport. They continue to treat Clarkside routine basketball plays as major incidents, while conveniently ignoring the actual dangerous plays committed against her.
Every day because of the way they play the game, because I love the WNBA, I love the way they play the game, but we really watch it because Caitlin Clark and everybody watching. Now listen, if I keep bumping her, knocking her down, might get her a concussion, you might hurt her for real. For 2 weeks, she was done with like a hamstring. She was down. 55% of the viewership was down. She comes back the next game, it's about 3 million viewers. Now let me tell you something. Growing up in the hood, they teach you this. Always protect the money. Y'all keep hurting her and all that. She's going for a year or two. Ain't nobody gonna watch it. If nobody watches, how y'all gonna make and generate money?
The solution to this crisis isn't complicated, it's just brutally honest. It requires the WNBA to finally make some hard decisions about what kind of league they actually want to be. If they genuinely want to be taken seriously as a professional basketball organization, they need to start acting like one. They need to establish crystal clear guidelines about player protection and then enforce them with unwavering consistency. They need to stop allowing manufactured controversies to completely overshadow the actual basketball being played. And most importantly, they need to recognize that their biggest stars, especially the ones who actually fill arenas and drive television ratings, deserve real protection from the kind of targeting and harassment that serves no purpose other than churning out social media drama. The ongoing, devastating collapse in viewership, attendance, and revenue without Clark serves as a harsh, undeniable reminder of what the WNBA was before she arrived, and what it will become again if they don't fundamentally change their approach. The league is averaging just 555,000 viewers this season without Clark, well below last year's average of 670,000. These numbers represent a direct, humiliating return to the pre-Clark era of empty arenas and utterly irrelevant games that nobody outside of a few hardcore fans bothered to watch.
What I saw walking to the game is what the media don't see. Thousands of kids.
Wearing what, Gil?
Kids. Huh?
And then you hear the tired excuses, oh, it was just a basketball play. Nothing to see here, folks, just competitive spirit, as if that somehow makes sense.
But it wasn't adults. Right. It was parents bringing their kids and their friends. Them seats was kids filled.
Right.
And that's what they don't understand. They don't grasp that part of it.
The most tragic aspect of this entire situation is that it didn't have to happen this way. With proper protection and genuine promotion of their undisputed star player, the WNBA could have easily leveraged Clark's popularity to build a robust, sustainable foundation for long-term growth. Instead, they've meticulously constructed a house of cards that collapses the very moment their biggest draw steps away from the court. Until the WNBA finally learns to protect and actively promote the players who actually drive interest in their league, they'll be stuck in this endless cycle of boom and bust periods, where one player's presence or absence determines whether anyone on Earth even bothers to pay attention. The burning question remains, will the WNBA finally learn to protect their golden goose, or will they stubbornly continue this destructive pattern until they've completely squandered the once-in-a-generation opportunity that Caitlin Clark's popularity has provided? Based on everything we've seen so far, the smart money definitely isn't on the league suddenly developing common sense.